Welcome to your Russia Today lesson. Here's what you guys are going to do. You're going to watch this video. You can go ahead and convert your screen to split screen, so you can also take some notes while you watch this video, and then you're going to go into Moodle and answer the questions about Russia Today. You are going to do all of this before our next class. So, just a little review. Here we have the country of Russia. We have a lot of different landforms going on here. We have the Northern European plain. We've got the Ural Mountains separating Europe and Asia. And then pretty much once you move east of the Ural Mountains, you have Siberia. You have several landforms in Siberia, the West Siberian Plain, Central Siberian Plateau, and then all of this is the Russian Far East. You also have the Caucasus Mountains all the way down in the south. Remember, Russia is cold. We have the Arctic Circle cutting through much of Russia. So it has a predominantly polar climate. They do have access to lots of natural resources. Unfortunately, some of the most lucrative natural resources like coal, oil, and natural gas are located in Siberia, where nobody really wants to go. Now, we talked about Russian history a little bit. Before the Russian Empire developed in the 1500s, you had several different groups controlling Russia. You had the Slavs, you had the Rus, and then you had the Tatars. But then the Russians overthrew the Tatars and became a Russian empire under the Tsars. And the picture you see there is the ill-fated Tsar Nicholas II. And during the Russian Empire, the concentration of wealth was with the nobles and with the czars. Most Russians were very, very poor farmers. And then after a little revolution, the Bolsheviks took over and they established a new country called the USSR. And they did this in 1917, and the USSR was communist. And they were led predominantly by communist dictators who kept a very strong hold over society, Joseph Stalin being the most noteworthy of those dictators. But then in the 1980s, the Soviet dictators started to loosen the control over Soviet society, and eventually the Soviet Union completely collapsed in 1991, and the Russian Federation began. And so that is what we are going to be talking about today. Now, in this Russian Federation, we have a lot of different ethnic groups. 80% of Russians today are of the Slavic ethnic group. That kind of makes sense because the Slavs were some of the first people to settle in Russia. And the Slavs in this map that you see are indicated by the yellow. So we see a high concentration of Slavs in Europe and a high concentration of Slavs in the south. But they're not the only ethnic group there. We do see a lot of Mongolians, or ethnic Mongolians living in Russia, okay, primarily in the east. This country right here is Mongolia. So it makes sense that there are many Mongolians living in Russia. And then we also have some Finnish, or some people with Finnish blood. And they live primarily up in the north, right near the country of Finland. Again, it makes sense. The pieces of the puzzle are fitting together, but the Slavic ethnic group is dominant in Russia today. In Russia today, the dominant religion practiced is Orthodox Christianity. If we remember, Orthodox Christianity was brought to the Russians by missionaries in the Russian Empire, but interestingly enough, in the Soviet Union, religion wasn't allowed because it was seen as a distraction from obedience to the government. Today, though, most of the people, if you can see with the graph, 71% of the people of Russia are Russian Orthodox. You still have a high percentage, 18% or almost 19%, who are unaffiliated with any religion at all. And then you have 5% practicing the religion of Islam. So those are the three dominant religious affiliations in the Russian Federation today. Culturally, they use the Cyrillic alphabet. It was invented there, and if you want to practice writing your name in the Cyrillic alphabet, feel free to do so. And Russia is really well known for its ballet and classical music. The composer Tchaikovsky, who composed The Nutcracker and Swan Lake, was from Russia. Just one of the more noteworthy composers. Now, Russia today is very different from the USSR. And today, the Russian Federation is working very hard to develop democracy and a market economy. The Russian Federation did develop in 1991 after the collapse of the USSR. Under the USSR, the system was a dictatorship. And a dictatorship is a system of government in which one person seized the right to rule. So the people didn't have very many decisions to make with the government. They didn't really have a choice about who ruled them. The USSR also made use of the command economic system, which is a system of a system of economics in which the government controls most economic choices. So people couldn't decide what natural resources they wanted to use or what jobs they wanted to participate in. And the kind of a command system that Russia used was communism. All right, but today, Russia is quite different. It has a democracy, which is a system of government in which people are allowed to participate. And the people participate by electing a president. And the president is checked by a legislature, and the legislators are elected by the people as well. So the legislators are the ones who make the laws, and the head executive, the president, is the one who carries out those laws. Today, the president is Vladimir Putin, who we will discuss in class. Today, Russia also has a market economy, which is the kind of economy that the United States has. It's a system of economics where private ownership is allowed, so people are allowed to own their own businesses. They're allowed to use whatever kind of natural resources they want to. They're allowed to buy stocks in their businesses and sell to whomever they wish to sell. But one of the pitfalls of a market economy is that businesses can go bankrupt. So there's a little bit of a gamble with a market economy more so than a command economy. Now, today, even though Russia has made the shift from command to market and dictatorship to democracy, there is a trend of corruption in the government. And corruption is just dishonest conduct. So though Russia has made a shift, they are still dealing with their own issues. And some of those issues we are going to be discussing next time in class. Thanks for watching.